You don't hear this from me very often, but today I need your help. Those of you that want to skip the story and just get to the point of what I'm asking you to do, you can go to the timestamp that will appear right here. Those of you that have been following this channel over the past year, there has been a story arc that has been unfolding before our eyes. It started last March. We were actually awarded, as Living Water Church, a piece of land in Wick City where we were given permission to start a community garden. Something really cool that happened here. It says, members also unanimously voted to allow the Reverend Andrew Ladisaw. I hate when they say that. Senior pastor of Living Water Church in the borough, to use the area of former 510 and 512 Woodward Avenue for a community garden. Thank you, Kittanning Borough, for the use of that. It was pretty late in the planning stages for a garden once we were awarded use of that property, and so we took what limited time and resources that we had, and we set to work trying to improve that property enough to be able to plant a garden in 2019. We have our humble beginnings to the community garden here. We're going to fill in all the green areas with the compost, and we'll have 1, 2, 3, 4 more rows. Had just enough newspaper and just enough dirt to cover the area that we wanted to. Given the poor soil conditions there, it actually went pretty well. We were able to create a small version of what we ultimately have planned for the community garden. We were able to get some seeds in the ground and ultimately throughout the summertime reap a pretty good harvest. Oh my goodness, First Baptist did such a good job here too. They weeded all those weeds out of there and covered it with mulch for us. That looks wonderful. And look at the garden. Starting to look like a real garden here. Get some beautiful plants in there. We got a whole box of lettuce from these this morning. Those should grow back and maybe get them one more time. The kale's starting to come in nice. Got a whole nother batch of kale right here. Still have a little bit of weeds, but then all that over there is not weeds. That's all lettuces too. Then in the back here we have all peppers. You can see all the bell peppers coming in. Cabbages, more cabbages back there. Zucchini's pumping. The tomatoes are just like jamming now. Look at all the tomatoes in here. There's so many. This whole thing is just loaded with tomatoes. More tomatoes jamming on the front. These guys reclaimed another couple hundred square feet of the garden here. Now we just need maybe 1 or 2 more loads of mulch probably. You saw all the weeds in here before. It's like completely clear now. We're ready for some fall garden crops. This side is looking incredible. Jake did everything actually. He just wanted me to let you know. Came to look at the garden, but there's so many tomatoes starting to ripen now. It's really great. And then we have lots of peppers still. We have some cabbage in the back that are almost ready. Zucchinis. And then Kevin and Judy just planted some radishes and some peas for the fall. And yeah, it's been a great first season at the community garden. That garden continued to produce well through the summer and well into the fall. We had late frost this year, and we were harvesting boatloads of produce all the way through October. Along with the food, we also had many groups of volunteers that came out and helped throughout the summer and the fall, including a wonderful group of homeschool students who poured their blood, sweat, and tears into that property, building raised beds in front of the garden and building a makeshift fence along the edges. They really put a lot of time and effort into it, only to have heartbreak happen. This is Tuesday's paper, and yeah, see here. Kittanning Council made some decisions, and so let me just read it to you. Council unanimously voted to direct the removal of a community garden at Living Water Church at 712 Woodward Avenue by year's end. We were hoping that it was just some big misunderstanding and the borough would reverse their decision, allow us to be there for the growing season of 2020, but that never really materialized. What did happen is the borough decided to sell that property, which brings us to today. And so I want to buy that property. Well, I don't want to buy the property. I want us to buy that property. See, after the community garden was shut down, there were hundreds of you that reached out to me and said, this community garden needs to stay. We will support the future efforts of the community garden. And so I just want to give everyone the opportunity to do that. The bids for that property are due at the end of February, and so we're going to start a 2-week fundraiser starting right now. I've set up the fundraiser over on our church Facebook page for a couple of reasons. I didn't want to do a GoFundMe because they actually take fees out of it, and Facebook, believe it or not, does not take out any fees. So if you are willing to give, whether it's $5 or $50 or $500, 100% of the proceeds will go towards the betterment of our community. There are also a couple reasons why I decided to use our church Facebook page. Number one, if the money goes into our church and the church purchases the property, all of your donations will be 100% tax deductible. The second reason is that a project like this does carry with it some variables, some things that we aren't quite sure of. See, I'm setting a goal on here for us to raise $5,000. Not all of that would go towards the purchase price of the garden. I have a bid in mind that we'll submit, but there's always the chance that someone could come in and make a higher bid and they would ultimately end up with the property. In case that happens, I want you to know the money that you donate will go towards us trying to find a new spot for the community garden, to purchase it and to then pour new resources into that garden to still make this a reality. In the event that we aren't able to find a suitable place for another community garden, we'll use the money towards Summer a Serve. And so no matter what happens, the money is going to go towards improving our community. That being said, I do think if we can raise $5,000, there'll be more than enough there to purchase the property and make many meaningful improvements for the long-term future of the garden. Lastly, I just want to thank you guys for being here, for watching this, and for considering a donation. If you're not in a financial position to donate, please don't worry about it, but I would still appreciate you liking this video, leaving comments below, and of course, sharing this as far and as wide as you can. I'd like to get this in front of as many people as possible, to get as many donations as possible, to make this a really viable long-term project. It was amazing to see in the first year, without sufficient time to prep, without sufficient money to pour into the project, that we were still able to grow hundreds of pounds of food and reach dozens and dozens of people across our community that said they were so thankful to have access to healthy, fresh food. I know that our plans for the future will allow us to grow much, much more than we did in the past. We'll be much more efficient than we were in the past, and the garden is going to be more beautiful every single year that it exists. It's been a wonderful thing for the community already, and it's going to be even better in the future with your help. So help us save this garden. Help put food on local people's plates. Help these young kids to learn valuable life skills on how to grow their own food. Help them to learn the value of hard work and a job well done. And help us make our community a better place to live. A garden is going to be a beautiful addition in 2020 and beyond. And if we can purchase this property now, we can make sure that it'll be a garden forever. I appreciate every single one of you, and thank you in advance for sharing this video around, and thank you for every single dollar that you donate. If you guys want to see the evolution of the garden over time in greater detail than I've gone through right now, I'm going to put a link to all of the videos that I used during this video in the description, so you can check out how the community garden evolved over the course of 2019, and so you can get a better idea of our plans for 2020. If you have any questions, please don't be afraid to reach out to me on any social media platform. You can either leave a comment here, or you can send me a private message on Facebook or Instagram, and I'll be more than happy to talk you through any questions that you might have before you make a donation. I love you guys. Let's make this happen together. See you in the next one. I had grand plans to give you an update on the community garden. It's covered in snow, so it's probably not much to look at, but let's go look anyways. Yep, definitely not much to look at in the dark. Crazy that look at the kale plants still standing tall. Look at this kale there. Seriously, that's amazing. It's February. It's February and this kale is delicious. You guys ate that whole thing before I could even get the camera out. Is it good? Yeah. That's like the best kale I've ever had.